How new is too new to be able to own a business? Hi, welcome to another episode of Business Mindset Mastery. My name's Heather Gray. I'm a mindset and performance coach over at choosetohaveitall.com. And first things first, if you guys are listening to me in real time, you know that it's been a couple of days since I've recorded a podcast episode. It's Monday, December 4th, and I had every intention last week of doing a Thursday episode for you, but my car broke down. I've been living in Rhode Island, but my car repair shop is in Massachusetts, and in the time it took me to go back and forth to deal with my car, I just couldn't get a podcast episode in, and I hadn't had a plan to do one on Friday, but I had hoped to be able to tell you on Thursday. So I'm sorry that it's been a couple of unexpected days without me in your earbuds, but let's just jump into it. I got into a conversation in a private coaching group that I'm a member of over the past couple of days about the importance of having experience before we start naming and titling ourselves business owners. That before we sell something, if we want to do it with integrity, we have to have experience. We have to have our reps in. We have to have the chops, really, to be able to say, I'm an expert in this, so much so that I have a product or a service, and I can help you attain that too. And as you can imagine, in an online forum, it created quite a firestorm. And I got a message from one of the members, and she reached out to me on Facebook, and we started a conversation, and ultimately I asked her if I could use her original message as a podcast episode. So in all transparency, she went back and changed some of her messaging so that it would be fit for podcasting. But here's what she originally wrote to me, and she and I have already had a little bit of a conversation about it, but she gave me permission to continue the conversation on the podcast. So here's what she originally had to say. Hey Heather, I heard what you had to say the other day. If we want to own a business, we have to have experience. If we want to sell with integrity, I have to know what I'm talking about. I get the heart of your message, that we can't sell things we know we can't deliver. I get, too, that just because we like doing something, we can't just start selling it. I don't entirely disagree with you or what you had to say, but here's where I'm at and here's where I get stuck. After 12 years in a career I hated, I decided I wanted to be a health coach. I am the example that you mocked a bit. I lost weight, so now I want to help other women lose weight too. I've taken courses in health coaching, fitness, and nutrition, but no, I don't have a certificate or any formal teaching to speak of. My business has been slow to grow, and I have long suspected it's because I'm too new, that I haven't earned the respect necessary to sell. That being said, I don't think I'm out of integrity, as you put it. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong, and I don't think I'm misleading people. I can't go backward to what I used to do just because I don't have enough experience in what I want to do. And yes, I do want to continue my business, and yes, I do want to do it with integrity. But Heather, what are we supposed to do? How do we get experience? I don't think newbies should be discounted. Everyone starts somewhere. You started somewhere. You don't know me very well, but I've been following you, and I want you to respect me, and I want you to respect people like me. Is there such a thing as too new to sell? What are the people who want to reinvent themselves supposed to do? Where are we supposed to begin? I don't say this to challenge you or start another fight. I just desperately need to know. Thanks. It's a really important question, and I think what happens in the online space when you're talking about these things in an online forum, everybody sees it in black and white, and I definitely want to share my thoughts, and of course I respect you. I think a lot of the point that I was trying to make in that online discussion got missed, and it's nice for me to be able to have a podcast where I can kind of start fresh, explain my point of view, and invite others who are listening in to challenge me and continue the conversation. But it helps me make sure that I'm saying what I mean, meaning what I'm saying, communicating transparently, and telling you all what I want you to think. And yes, I do think you can be new and start a business. I just think we have to think about how we do it so we can do it honestly, with integrity, and we're not one of the bottom dwellers who show up on our Facebook newsfeed saying, hey, I can show you how to make 6 figures in 6 months, when the people selling the product have never done it themselves. That's the difference. So stay tuned. I'm going to get right back to you on the other side of this break. I want to start by communicating clearly to you, the listener, who may not have been a part of that online coaching group that I'm a member of. I know a lot of my listeners come from there, so some people are going to know what I'm talking about. But if you're not in that group, you feel like you're on the outside looking in. And I don't want you to feel that way. And I don't want people to think that I'm just sort of, getting on my soapbox and continuing the rant. It's just really important to me that, first of all, I talk to people about this. It is an issue I feel incredibly passionate about. I also want people to clearly know that it is possible to be new and start a business. We just have to think about how we do that differently. That was the original point that I was trying to make in that online discussion, and that's what anybody who wasn't a part of that discussion, that's what I would want you to know. That I think a lot of people struggle with being new because they don't know where to start, and then they listen to the online jargon that says anybody can start a business. You can just do this. You can try doing that. If you have a passion, you can turn your hobby into a business. And all of that is true, but there are steps we need to take, things we need to consider, and ways that we can do it that are honest and with integrity and aren't just the bottom dweller attempt at just, hey, I like this idea. I think I could do it. Sure, let me start a business doing it. That was the point that I was making. And I think for people who are building businesses with intent, who have said, hey, I'm 12 years into a job I can't stand, but the thing I spend the most time thinking about is weight loss. I'm proud of my own weight loss. I know that it took me forever to find answers. I think I could help other women find answers. Let me learn more. The difference between the message writer that reached out to me and the bottom dwellers that we see in the newsfeed is she gave it thought and consideration, and she took the steps necessary to get informed beyond her own personal experience. What we really want to do is not just be able to say and sell a service, hey, I did this for me, I think it could work for you, but to know that everybody's going to be coming to this situation with their own particular pain points, their own experiences, and we have to be able to navigate that, because otherwise the only clients that we're going to be successful with are the clients who are exact replicates of us. And how often does that really happen? So yes, I do think some of the roadblocks that you're experiencing are because you're new, but I also think there's some questions you can walk yourself through, some steps you can take to set yourself up for success, and ways that you can move yourself out of that newbie headspace and start showing up in a way that probably feels better for you, but it will also help you connect better with your audience and the people you're starting to get to know under your new brand. So the first thing that I want you to think about is how often you yourself focus on the fact that you're new. One of the things that I actually reacted to was this idea that because somebody likes something, they could suddenly just become an expert at it. But on the flip side, I think the mistake a lot of people make when they're new and they're feeling insecure and they're worried about being an imposter is that they focus so much on being new. And I think that before we think about what you're telling people, what you're sort of putting out to the universe about who you are, what you do, and how you serve, I want you to look at what you're telling yourself. Are you undermining yourself? Are you minimizing the number of hours you spent losing weight yourself? Are you losing track of all the fits and starts, all the times you tried and failed, all the times you got up and started over and had a reboot? Because those experiences and those hours and that time spent, that emotion counts. So does the hours spent learning, studying, practicing, talking to other people in the struggle, all of the things you've done to set your business up for success. That all counts, and it speaks to experience. There's a big difference between what you're doing and then suddenly waking up one morning and saying, hey, I thought I might want to do this because I really enjoy doing that. That's what I was trying to stop. That's what I was trying to speak out against. I wasn't trying to discourage the people who are new and just haven't gotten the reps in. But if you're getting educated, you have a place here. When I talk about getting an education, I am not talking about a formal degree, a 4-year university, a 2-year program. It's about getting yourself informed so you feel as though you can speak freely. Like that, if I asked you to go up on stage in an hour and talk for 30 minutes about your topic, you would be able to do that confidently and comfortably. You would have a frame for your approach, how you think things, how you teach it, and how you would help other people get results. If you can't talk about the topic you're selling for 30 minutes spontaneously, that's a really good indication that you might not be ready to own this business. You have to know cold what it is you think, how you approach the topic, and how you think you can help people get different results. And I'm not talking about the sales pitch. I'm not talking about public speaking here. I'm talking about, in theory, the idea that if I said on go, you should be able to talk about the thing you're selling with an informed, educated opinion for at least 20 to 30 minutes without needing a book, without needing to look something up, based on your own experience and based on what you've learned. And I think that ability is so key to set us up for confidence, to know that we know what we have, to know that we know what we're talking about. We have to be able to feel confident in our ability on demand to talk about the topic we're selling. And so often that is almost the litmus test a lot of people can feel, because if you're just talking fluff, if you're saying, oh, I read this book or so-and-so had to say, you haven't crafted your own opinion. You haven't crafted your own experience. And yes, you're too new to sell because you haven't figured out how you're different from everybody else. But here's the thing. Once you get that experience, the first thing everybody tells you to do is go do your product or service for free. Do a beta group. Get feedback. But the first people who find you in the beta group are usually the people who know, like, and trust you already, who are not strangers, who are going to be worried about giving you critical feedback, who don't always set you up for success in what they have to say back. And the reason for that is because they're so well-intentioned. But what happens again is if you engage friends and family or beta testers in your idea and service that you already know, you yourself may not feel confident that it's a good product. And we want to set you up for success to show up as a newbie, but to show up as a new person with a new voice, with something new to bring to the table. I was just talking about this with another client of mine who's new to the the personal development coaching business. And I was telling her that she can't compare her year 1 to my year 20. I'm 20 years into this. So if somebody brings me a problem, I usually can prattle about the answer. And sometimes the feedback I get is that I make it sound too damn easy, that I am no longer connected to how hard it can be for some people, to how much they can struggle. And what I was telling my client is that's where she stands out differently from me. She hasn't been there and done that she's jaded, that she's heard it before, and she can prattle out the answers. She's genuinely interested in learning all the details and hearing all the nuance, and she is going to be set up to connect to her clients way differently than I'm going to be set up to connect to mine. And that can be a fantastic thing for business. But we need to know that. We need to know what being new offers instead of takes away. And so many people in that discussion I had last week just heard that I was taking something away without really hearing that I was offering a challenge to think critically about how they can offer something new, but do it with integrity, do it with honesty, meeting themselves where they're at so they can meet their clients where they're at. I don't think you need to stop, and I don't think you need to go backward, but I do think you need to get your reps in. You need to get the experience of coaching a few people from start to finish. You need to feel confident in helping people when they stumble, helping them get back up, problem solving the approaches that don't work exactly as you thought they would. You need to get your reps in. And the best way to do that is to think outside the box of that I want a beta tester. That's what everybody in the online space is doing. But if we think critically about that, how about marketing like it's 1999? There are so many women's health clubs and different fitness places and all sorts of things that if you joined a gym or you went into some place and said, hey, I'm looking to offer health coaching services to women who are trying to lose weight, would I be willing to help your members for free? Would you be willing to have me come for 3 hours a week to just walk around the gym, talk to people, answer their questions? This is what I've learned so far. This is my experience I'm bringing to the table, and see what people say. Because what you need to stop feeling new is the same thing your potential client needs you to feel, is that you have answers to a variety of questions, that you don't have the jitters when you're asked, that you can present yourself and sell with confidence. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you get your reps in. And yes, you can do that online, but the easiest, fastest way sometimes is just to go in person and to ask places. And there are gyms and different types of places in all kinds of industries where you say, hey, I'm trying to learn something. I want to get some experience. I'm trying to earn some testimonials. Would you be willing to have some extra support? And then if you get a no, that's fine, because the experience of showing up and doing the cold calling and making me ask is going to make you already feel more informed. Because what's really important for the newbies to stand out in the space is you have to know what your own opinion is. The first mistake a lot of newbies make is they just tout and repeat what they hear other people say. But the more you talk to people, the more you get comfortable answering questions, the more you recognize your own voice in the noise, the easier it's going to be for your audience to do that. And that way, you're gathering more experience. You're doing this journey with integrity. And you know what? I know it's the long path. I know you're 12 years into a business you can't stand and you just need this thing to work. But the reality is that there's a lot of misinformation out there about starting a business. At some point in time, it was the top of the ladder. You went to school, you worked for the man, you got your years of experience in, and then you went out on your own. And the internet has changed that entire landscape. It's opened up new opportunities for people to graduate college, to not go to college and suddenly become online business owners selling anything from, physical products to ebooks to information products to one-on-one coaching services to consulting services to cleaning services and everything in between. Anything is possible, but when you try to fast track it, that's when you lose the respect. When I was communicating transparently to people and saying, yes, I have an opinion about people who put out products and services who have no business putting out products and services, I have that opinion because they hadn't gotten the reps in. They wanted to skip all the steps just because they like something, start to own a business in it. And that's what I was going against. And newbies, when they hear that message, think I'm talking to them if they're not rooted in their own experience and their own personal journey. That you get to own a business, but you have to take every step of the ladder seriously, do it mindfully, and do it with intention. And sure, some people get lucky, but those people are rare. And if you want to get to the top and last, you've got to take the steps. You can't skip any, and you just have to own where you are. And where you are right now won't always be. Another way to think about doing this for yourself is to not come out of the gate with the premium luxury priced offers. So many people who I'm talking to who are new to this space and are sort of struggling with pricing, selling themselves and putting themselves out there. It's because there's this incredible pressure in the online space to have a core premium offer. And the reality is that people who are new need some time to see themselves as worthy of the premium offer. And just because the person in your newsfeed wants to tell you that you too could sell a premium offer, you need to believe it. And the only way you're going to believe it is if you get those reps in. So think about ways that you can sell quick wins. How could you help people lose their first 5 pounds? How could you help them lose their first 10? How could you help them clean out their cabinets to know like what junk they need to throw away and what they need to replace it with in their pantry? What are the things that a good gym has and a bad gym doesn't? Like, what are the different tools and things that set people up for success in the weight loss journey? And can you sell that service? Can you sell quick laser focus sessions on these little areas where you've developed expertise and feel like you've taken someplace from like somebody from point A to point B? Not the whole journey, not the 3-month coaching package, not the 6-month intensive, but just the quick wins. And this isn't for your client. This is for you, so that you know what you're selling beyond just writing to me and telling me you do. You know you've read the books. You know you've put in the hours. You know you've talked to people. But to get confidence, to feel like you can own a business and not just have this as a side hustle or a hobby, is you got to get those quick wins in, and they have to come in the form of sales. Otherwise, it's always going to be the question of who's going to pay me for this. And then once you tack those on and you get people buying and investing into you, it is so much easier to tell yourself the story that you are now worthy of a premium, longer term product or service offering, because you've gotten your reps in, you've seen where you've been successful with other people, and you've seen where you need to take them to the next level. And when you come from that place of expertise, everyone buys in. Everyone connects with you because you have the testimonials, you have the experience, you have the understanding of what worked, why it didn't work, what people can try when it doesn't work. You start to have answers, and those answers become the voice of your expertise. And that makes you a hell of a lot different from someone who says, hey, I just read this personal development book by Tony Robbins, and now I think I'm going to sell personal development. You've actually done the work of personal development. You've accumulated the stories. You've gathered the experience. You've changed your own story of yourself. And that is how you move from brand spanking new to business owner. It's a series of steps and it's a process. And you can't go from idea to business owner. And that is the idea that I think we have to crush a little bit. And if I have to crush dreams, that's where I need to crush them, because there's steps that people need to take. And when you don't take them, you're just selling a business that's just simply not in line with integrity. And the reality is when people say anyone can run a business, that's true, but not everyone can do it honestly. And some people take advantage of those who have little to know about the industry, and they have no idea what they're buying, and they just see the cheaper rate. They buy that, and suddenly they're being swindled. And I know that the buyer has responsibility too. Buyers have to ask the right questions. They have to be informed enough to know who they're buying from, what the service they expect to get in kind, and what the person selling has to know about that. I get that, I know that, and I agree. But I'm not in control of the buyer. My opinion was for the seller. And that was what I was offering, is that we have to get our reps in. We have to get practice at this, because it makes it so much easier to sell, and then it makes it way easier for the buyer to buy. The hardest part of reading your message in Facebook that day was the message in the part where you said, I really respect you. I just want you to respect me. I'm so sorry that for a second you had to feel like you were included in the conversation I was having just because you're new. I was thinking about it after because I got a lot of messages from people like you in response to that conversation I had. My inbox was quite full that day. And I do have respect for new people. I do have respect for people who want to follow the path and take the steps. But I gotta tell you, the people who I was talking to, they weren't the ones sending me the emails. They weren't the ones doing the self-reflection. They weren't the ones second-guessing themselves and saying, hey, am I in this conversation? Do I have a responsibility here? The people who go and they try to just take advantage and build businesses they have no business building, they don't want to hear the conversations I'm starting. They don't want to participate in them, and they don't want to self-reflect to see if it's maybe a little bit about them. So no, dear friend, you and I talked. No, you're not in this group because I could see your heart. You were so transparent, and I'm just not happy. I took the class, I'm learning things, but yes, I still am less experienced than others. I respect that. I respect you're part of the journey. I respect exactly where you're at, and I encourage you to continue to ask yourself these really hard questions because it's in that we do the personal development. It's how we come to identify ourselves as bosses and the kind of bosses we're going to be for our businesses. When we're not asking the hard questions, that's when we really have to be concerned. I am so glad you reached out to me. Thank you for participating in that one-on-one conversation with me offline. Thank you for allowing me to use your letter to open this conversation onto my podcast. I wanted to bring the conversation here too, and I wasn't sure how to do that. I certainly don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to get people thinking critically and changing the definition of what it means to have it be easy to own a business. It's not easy. It's anything but. But the people who are willing to do it and who are willing to take the steps, you've got this and you can do it. You just can't skip any steps along the way. And that's the real point I'm trying to make. Thanks so much for having this conversation. If you want to continue it with me, find me over at heather@choosetohaveitall.com and I'll get right back to you. In the meantime, thanks for talking to me today. I'll be back in your earbuds tomorrow. Until then, bye for now.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.